There's an old saying, one you might have heard whispered in the dark corners of your childhood, that what you see isn't always what's there, and what you can see, it's breathing right down your neck. This saying, this warning, it clings to today's story like a shroud. You'll need to listen closely, very, very closely. This tale isn't just terrifying, it's a labyrinth of mystery, a puzzle that the man who lived it never got the chance to solve. He never found his peace, but I know the whole story, and I'm going to tell it to you. Now, if you listen to the very end, perhaps you can solve the mystery that he never could. But be warned, if you turn away, you will miss the key, the one detail that unlocks the entire nightmare. So stay with me. This story comes from a forgotten hollow in America, a place tucked away in the mountains, a town they call Sparrow Peak, a place that folks say is so beautiful, it's like heaven on earth, but without humor. But everyone who's ever heard of Sparrow Peak has wondered the same thing. Why does a place called heaven harbor such hellish deeds? So much violence, so much bloodshed. You've heard those stories, I'm sure. But the tale I'm about to tell you from Sparrow Peak, it goes beyond mere horror. It is the most dreadful, the most terrifying. It's about a man who returned after many, many years, a man named Silas. And what happened to him didn't just happen once, it happened again, and with each turn you will feel the dread alongside him, not once, but many times. The story begins in the year 2010. Silas, a man of 40, was on a flight from the city, heading back towards the rural quiet of his youth, back to see his parents. He was excited, you see, a deep nervous energy thrumming in his chest. He hadn't seen his mother and father in 20 long years. He had left the country long ago, forced out by the crushing weight of his family's financial ruin. He went abroad, built a new life, finished his studies. He tried to come back, he really did, but something always held him back. Even his calls home were few and far between. But then one day, the phone rang, a clipped, urgent voice on the other end. "Your father is very, very sick." Silas knew he couldn't waste another moment. Who knew what could happen? Without a second thought, he booked a ticket. He landed at the nearest regional airport, and from there, without wasting a single breath, he hired a car to take him the final winding miles to Sparrow Peak. Finally, he was there. He stared out the window as the car rumbled along familiar roads. The town had changed in 20 years. Of course it had, but as he got closer to his old street, an eerie stillness took hold. He wondered, the house I left, is it the same? My friends, will they still be there? At the old spots where we used to play? He had called them, told them he was coming. His time was short, just 5 or 6 days before he had to return to his life. So many people to see. And Silas watched. Everything was exactly as he'd left it 2 decades ago. The same shops, the same houses, leaning into each other like tired old men. He saw the little general store where he used to buy candy as a boy, still there. Today, the shopkeeper's son stood behind the counter. A wave of nostalgia washed over him, and his excitement grew, a frantic fluttering in his heart. The car stopped, right in front of his house. He stepped out, walked to the familiar wooden door and knocked. No one answered. He knocked again, harder this time. Still nothing. A few neighbors started to peek out from their windows, their faces pale and drawn. They were staring at him. He was that boy, wasn't he? The one who fought with his parents and left 20 years ago. Silas felt a prickle of discomfort under their gaze. To himself, sigh, what is this? No one's home. I'll come back this evening. He turned to leave, and just as he did, the door swung open all by itself. He paused. It was probably just the wind, he thought. Yes, just the wind. He grabbed his bags and stepped inside. The moment he was in, he dropped his luggage on the floor. "Mom," he called out. His voice echoed in the silent house. "Mom, I'm home." Then he heard it, a voice, faint and frail, drifting down from the second floor. It was his mother. Silas bolted up the stairs, his heart pounding. He found her there, sitting beside his father's bed. They both looked so fragile, wasted away by illness. But even in her weakness, his mother's eyes lit up, and she pulled him into a fierce hug. Seeing them like this, so broken, Silas felt a wave of emotion crash over him. Regret, sharp and bitter, but also a sliver of happiness. He was finally here. He could be with them, even if just for a little while. But Silas didn't know that his first night in that house would be the most terrifying of his life. It was late. He had only gone downstairs to fill a bottle of water. That's when he heard a sound from the window to his right. A faint tap, tap, tapping. There was no wind tonight. The air was unnaturally still. The sound echoed, moving from one window to the next, a ghostly rhythm in the dark. He crept closer, trying to see, and then he saw them, the distinct greasy fingerprints of two hands, pressed against the glass. He looked closer, his blood turning to ice. They were on every window, every single one. It was as if something, was standing outside in the pitch-black night, circling the house, peering inside. Silas was paralyzed with fear. The water bottle slipped from his numb fingers and clattered to the floor. He turned and fled, scrambling back up the stairs to the relative safety of his parents' room. The next morning, as soon as the sun cast its weak light, Silas went to his mother. "Mom, last night, when I went downstairs for water, I saw something. There were handprints on all the windows. I felt like someone was out there, watching us in the dark. I was so scared." His mother just nodded slowly. "Oh, that's just Mr. Abernathy, from next door. His wife passed away a few years back, and he hasn't been right in the head since. He just wanders, day and night." Hearing this, a wave of relief washed over Silas. It wasn't some otherworldly thing. It was just a person, a sad, lonely person. He felt so much better, in fact, that the next night he even tried to go outside to look for the man. It was on that day that an invitation arrived, a party hosted by his childhood friend, Caleb. After all these years, Silas hadn't had a chance to see any of his old friends. This was perfect. The party was for that evening. When Silas told his parents, his father, his voice barely a whisper, looked at him with serious eyes. "Whatever you do, wherever you go, just make sure you are home before 12 o'clock, before midnight, or something terrible could happen." Silas laughed it off, a little impatiently. "Dad, I'm already running late. Why are you talking about such superstitions right before I leave?" Yes, I'll be careful." And with that, he walked out of the house. At the party, Silas was swept up in a whirlwind of reunions. They drank, they laughed, they shared stories, but the party stretched on and on. Silas glanced at his watch. It was already past midnight. 12 o'clock had come and gone. Still, nobody was leaving. He felt a pang of unease. If he left now, it might seem rude. He decided to stay a little longer. That's when his friend Caleb came over to him. He looked strange, worried. "Brother, maybe you shouldn't stay so late. You should go home." Silas felt a bit annoyed. "Why are you saying that?" Caleb leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Silas, the road you took to get here, it passes over a bridge. Blackwater Bridge. You'll have to cross it again to get home." "Okay, so." Caleb's eyes were wide, scared. Blackwater Bridge. It has a very old, dark history. Back in 1990, 50 people were killed there, in a single night. And they say that even now, if anyone crosses that bridge in the dead of night, they can hear them, the voices of their tormented souls. They say you can see them wandering in the dark. Silas burst out laughing, a loud, dismissive laugh. "Caleb, what kind of ghost stories are you telling me? I come back after all these years, and this is how you welcome me." But Caleb didn't laugh. He was completely serious. "This story is true, my friend. It has happened to many people." Silas just waved his hand. "Whatever. If it happens to me, I'll deal with it then. Let's enjoy the party." He dismissed the story as nonsense and ignored the warning. By the time the party finally wound down, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. Everyone had gone home. Only Silas was left. He got into his car and started the long drive home. The road was empty, silent, but Caleb's words kept replaying in his mind, over and over. Blackwater Bridge. He told himself it was ridiculous, but a seed of dread had been planted. And then, up ahead, he saw it, the dark skeletal frame of Blackwater Bridge emerging from the mist. His eyes scanned the length of it, and in the distance, at the very edge of the bridge, he saw a small figure, a little girl, standing all alone. Gasps, and she was crying. A chill went down Silas's spine. What was this? It's 3 o'clock in the morning, on a deserted bridge. Why is a child crying here? He thought. No, it could be a spirit, a ghost. But Silas was a man of principle. He believed in logic. This is a made-up story, he told himself. I should help her. He was still just thinking about it, debating whether to stop the car. But you all know, that in the dead of night, at 3 o'clock in the morning, on a deserted road surrounded by darkness, when you meet someone, there's no way to know if they are human or something else entirely. Silas made a firm decision. He had to stop. He stopped the car. The moment he did, the sound of the girl's crying ceased. Abruptly, he could feel it. Something was approaching his car. He could hear the soft patter of footsteps on the asphalt. He looked towards his window and felt a presence drawing near. He slowly rolled down the window. Standing right there, staring up at him with wide, empty eyes, was a little girl. Silas got out of the car. He walked over to her. Why were you crying?
The little girl looked at him. "I can't find my mom and dad. I've been looking for them for a long time, but I can hear their voices. They keep calling for me." Silas softened. "Where do the voices come from? Can you show me?" The girl raised a small hand and pointed towards a dark, still pond right next to the bridge. Silas and the girl walked to the edge. Floating on the surface of the black water were two bodies, a man and a woman. Silas's eyes widened in shock. Without thinking, he started tearing off his jacket, ready to jump into the freezing water. But just as he was about to leap, the little girl grabbed his hand. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "You can save them, but what about the others?" Silas froze. What do you mean?" The girl pointed again at the pond. Silas looked. There weren't two bodies anymore. Now, there were at least 40 or 50, all floating silently on the water. He finally understood. This wasn't real. None of it. He turned and ran. He scrambled back to his car, his breath catching in his throat, and slammed the door shut. As he sped away, he looked in his rearview mirror. The entire road behind him was slick with blood. Just blood. He finally reached his house, his car screeching to a halt. He ran to the door and started pounding on it, screaming, "Mom, Dad, open the door." But no one opened the door. He hammered on it again and again, but the house remained silent and dark. This was Sparrow Peak. The cold was biting. He stood there alone, in the dead of night, shivering outside his own front door. Then, he saw him, a figure, walking slowly out of the darkness, coming towards his house. It was the man from the other night, the neighbor. The man ignored Silas completely, walked right past him to the windows, and began to peer inside again. Silas finally snapped. "This must be the man who comes every night," he thought. He stalked towards him, filled with rage and terror. "What the hell are you doing? I see you. Every night you come here. You stare into my house. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Is that it? Because you're insane. I'm letting you go, but tell me what you are doing here." The man turned and stared at him. A long, hard stare. "What are you staring at? This is my parents' house. You can't just look inside." The man finally spoke, his voice calm and steady. "Whose parents? Who are you talking about?" Silas fell silent. The man continued, his voice laced with a strange pity. "For days now, we've all seen you, the whole neighborhood. This house has been empty for 20 years, and yet, you come here, you ring the bell, you knock on the door day and night, you talk to yourself, standing here in the darkness. There's nothing inside that house. Why are you doing this?" "It's because of this, out of concern, that the neighbors asked me to keep watch, to make sure nothing happens to you. That's why I look in your window." After hearing all this, Silas could only whisper, "You're lying. That can't be." The man gently guided Silas to sit on the porch steps. "Perhaps because you haven't been here for 20 years, you are unaware of these facts. 20 years ago, your mother and father, they were part of a protest, right here in Sparrow Peak, and in that protest, between 50 and 100 people died. They were all shot. Everyone died that day. They say, on that spot, at Blackwater Bridge, their souls still wander. They cry, they scream, they beg for help, and if anyone hears their call, they have to see and hear terrible, abominable things. And as for your parents, the people you have been talking to all this time, perhaps they are your mother and father, but they are not alive. They are their spirits, and after meeting you, they feel more alive than ever. But you must understand one thing. Open your ears and listen. Whatever you see around you, whoever you see, they are not alive, Silas." During this entire conversation, Silas was frantically trying to connect the dots, to link the pieces. He felt the man had to be wrong. He was desperate to prove him wrong, but he couldn't, because every single thing the man said was the truth. Silas wanted to forget it all, to dismiss it as a terrible nightmare. But the grief of losing his parents all over again, he couldn't bear it. He went back to the city, and they say literally, to this day, that bridge in Sparrow Peak, Blackwater Bridge, is just as terrifying. This story is from 2010, but even now, that bridge remains just as dreaded. No one wanders there in the middle of the night. You know what they say, don't you? If a person dies somewhere with an unfulfilled wish, they never leave that place. And if you ever find yourself in such a place, and you know its history, you know that someone died there many years ago with a wish left unfulfilled, then you must leave. Get out as fast as you can, even if it's your own home, because it's possible that they might want to fulfill their unfinished